This is Scott Kent from Putnam, for those of you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Scott Kent from Putnam. Thank you for joining us. This is a hot and interesting topic, but to back up, I have the opportunity and pleasure of representing you folks, the RIA space here in Denver, as well as Texas. So it's a lot of fun. If I don't know any of you, I love the opportunity to get to know you. But those of you I do know that my firm and myself try to just add value in any way that we can, whether that's through practice management, things like this, social media, wealth management, things like what's going on with the DOL. I saw an interesting statistic the other day that said Stephen Hawking's explanation of the universe was 245 pages, and the DOL is over 1,000. So what that means is it's extremely complicated and we need resources. Lastly, where we try to add the best value is through investment management. So if that's not a conversation, I'd love to start with you going forward. I'm going to introduce Chad, who's our implementation specialist at Putnam, and he's going to walk us through some key ideas around social media. He's going to highlight a study that we have both on our website, and it's in front of us here, and I'm not going to steal a thunder, but very, very quickly, 81% of financial advisors in 2015 were using social media for their business. Of that, the average asset gain was $4.6 million. So this is some measurable numbers that we hired a firm to look at 800 financial advisors and gave us this information. So I'm going to give this to Chad and quickly lead into it. My kind of story on doing this around my territory is, has anyone heard of a technology that you use every single day, or what? Can you tell me what a technology that you use every single day, every person that you arguably know, that's called NANP? Throw out some guesses. It's called a North American Numbering Plan. It was established in 1951, and it was this idea to create long-distance phone calls through area codes. And so the guess is, I hope you guys can think about how this was established around where the population centers were. So if you think about the old rotary phone, 212 is New York. And so 212 is the easiest way to get to on a rotary phone. On the opposite side of the population of New York City, you think about Hawaii, which is 909. So the point of that story is you don't need to understand how every single piece of technology works in order for it to be helpful in your day-to-day life. And social media is exactly like that. So with that, I'm going to introduce Chad, and interactive questions, throw them out there. We'd love to hear them. Thank you.
Awesome. And thank you, Scott, for the introduction. I really appreciate it. And thank you all for joining us today. We really appreciate your time, and really excited to talk about this. Social media is a topic that I really love to talk about, mainly because it's pretty much everywhere. I have 4 nieces, and the oldest 2 have now refused to text me. They only Snapchat. But fortunately, Snapchat's not needed for your business. I promise I won't dive into that. But it's funny how social media is everywhere. I mean, earlier this year, after New Year's, I bought a new scale, decided to start a new workout program, and I got one of the smart ones, Bluetooth, that looked really cool, so I said, why not? And little did I know that every time I stepped on that scale, somehow I set it up to tweak my weight. So for a week or so, all my loyal followers had the entertainment of seeing my progress, I guess, or lack of progress of my new diet. So quickly fixed that, but it's just a little reminder that really social media is everywhere that we go. But before I begin officially, I have to say this or I'll get in trouble with my compliance team. Please consult with your firm's compliance. Every firm has a little bit different rules, but really the goal of this presentation is to show you some compliant-friendly ways to leverage social media. And this is not just leveraging social media just to use it as advertisement, but this is using it productively. Like Scott said, we are looking to help you build your book of business, and social media is a great tool to do so. Which is why I always start with this slide. Does anyone recognize this day of the, this is the Dow right now? Any guesses?
Flash crash.
Yeah. Flash crash, that is correct. This is the flash crash of April 2013. Just a quick recap, the Associated Press Twitter was hacked. One tweet was sent, and it said, 2 bombs explode at White House, President Obama injured. AP quickly deleted the tweet. The White House immediately said this is false, everyone is safe and okay. But immediately, in the 5-minute aftermath of when those tweets were sent out, the Dow plummeted about 130 billion in equity value. This is from one tweet. Social media is everywhere and it's being used in business. And it's not just being used to make money in the markets and with trading, but it's also being used by financial advisors as well. Just to go back to the survey that Scott referenced, with financial advisors in social media, about 81% are using social media, and 79% of those on social media found at least one new client. And these are not really small clients. The average asset gain was $4.6 million, and over 53% of these new clients were over at least $1 million. And the social advisor, it's not really who you expect. The social advisor is not the young, right out of business school advisor in his young 30s. It is about 44 years old, works at a big firm, and they're active on 5 social networks. Now that's a little bit of a stretch. I think some people just check the boxes they have a Facebook account. Really, from my experience, I've seen advisors active mainly on one and usually having a secondary network. But if you look at the adoption rates, most of the financial advisors, they're on LinkedIn. About 70% of advisors are on LinkedIn in some form. 47% on Facebook, about 42% on Twitter. But what I'd like to point out from the survey is for LinkedIn, the average use per month was right around 17. So this is every other day. While Facebook was 24 and Twitter was 22. However, if you looked, 88% of advisors gained new business from LinkedIn. So they're using the network a little less often than other social media, and they're being more productive to it. Because LinkedIn is essentially the network for business. If you kind of want to break down the big 3 networks, LinkedIn is used primarily for improving referrals and connecting with peers, and we'll go over that later today. Well, if you look at Facebook, Facebook's more about your public image. It's about enhancing current clients, as well as building your brand identity. While Twitter is mainly for expanding my professional knowledge, so it's an information aggregation source, as well as promoting myself as a thought leader, and that's through actively tweeting. Now, what people always like to ask next is, do I have to connect with everyone? LinkedIn is kind of intimidating. But the answer is no. LinkedIn is about focused connections. About 338 connections will connect you with almost 6 million professionals, which is huge. So you don't need to feel that you have to connect with everyone. You don't have to connect with your entire town. If you build a focused and specific network, you will find a way to utilize LinkedIn to improve your business. And I'll show you one of the main reasons why. So if we go to, let's just take a step back and imagine a time before, our phones and watches were smarter than the computers that brought us to the moon. And we can think about what happened after you had a great prospecting meeting. You met with a prospect and their spouse, explained your value proposition, told you what your firm does and how you add value, and you sent them on their way. So really, 20 years ago, they would go back to the car in the parking lot or maybe even the lobby of the building. They'd sit down, they'd have a talk. Was this person trustworthy? Do we like this person? Can we trust them with our financial future? They'd talk it out and usually kind of make a gut decision. Now, fast forward back to current day, and the first thing a prospective client is going to do, whether they, before they chat, and they will do this before they meet with you, after they meet with you, and sometimes even during your meeting, they're going to enter your name on Google. They're going to search for you, they're going to search for your business, and they're going to use what they find on the internet to help make a decision. And what LinkedIn does is LinkedIn uses SEO, or search engine optimization, to ensure that LinkedIn pages are usually within the top 2 or 3 results on Google, on Yahoo, on Bing, on any sort of search engine. Just for example, there's a Chad Hollis Construction that's a real company somewhere in St. Louis, I believe. And my LinkedIn page shows ahead of their business. So it is very important to have a LinkedIn, because when they search for your name, LinkedIn's going to show up. And I'll show you an example of the worst case scenario if someone Googles your name, finds your LinkedIn, and looks at this to judge you. And naturally, I'll use my older brother's profile. So this is my brother. He's in the Orlando, Florida area. He's a small business owner in technology. And this is his LinkedIn. And just as a disclaimer, I've told him about this and I told him I've done this, so he's on his own now. So according to LinkedIn, my brother does not really have a job title, and you don't really know what his company does, so that's a red flag there. His picture is a corporate logo, so for all you know, he's a robot. And he has really no education or any sort of job experience, so yeah, is this someone you trust to do business with? Where I'll show you another example, my cousin, similar small business owner in the New Jersey area, and this is kind of what your professional profile should look like, because with LinkedIn, you're pretty much controlling the first impression, what people are thinking about you before they even step foot in your door. And here you see is a current picture, smiling, professional. He has founder and CEO, so you know that he's been with his company, he made it. He has a great educational background. He has a great list of work history. So this is someone who you would probably trust. Plenty of experience, great education, a face you can trust, or this person who appears to be faceless, no experience, no job, and allegedly 9 friends. So I'm guessing which one you pick. But the reason I say this is LinkedIn is a great way, and these are a few profile tips that you can have to really control that first experience. The first is your name, and it might sound trivial, but for example, my real name that says in this name tag is Charles Hollis. However, really, the last time I've heard Charles Hollis was when I looked at this name tag. So really, everyone in my business career, my personal career, calls me Chad. If you search for me, I've always been Chad. It's on my business cards, it's in my email address. For me, on my LinkedIn, there's no reason for me to put Charles Hollis. People are not going to search for Charles, they're going to search for Chad. There's no reason to confuse them, and also, you really want to take advantage of that search engine optimization and have your name front and center. Second is have a title. And for financial advisors, I always recommend to have financial advisor or wealth manager in the title. Now, I know a lot of different companies have different designations. They have presidents, directors, CIOs. However, if you're in the business of managing clients' money, and it is your day-to-day responsibility of working with clients to help secure their financial future, you want to have financial advisor in this headline. Because what that's going to help is if someone searches for financial advisor in the Denver area, with LinkedIn search engine optimization, you have a higher chance of coming up on that list. Just because they're not looking for specific terms, because most new clients really don't know what they want in the first place. Additionally, I always recommend to, I'll show up on my profile for this one, but it's to customize your LinkedIn URL. So if you see below my profile, it says linkedin.com/in/Chad Hollis. And there are 2 benefits to this customization. The first is, what's going to happen is this contributes to your search engine optimization. By having my name in a website URL, that's once again loading my search results to the top. Additionally, it's very easily shareable. This is in my business card, it's in my email, email signature, and it's easy to share with someone and say, hey, connect with me on LinkedIn, on linkedin.com/my name. But to customize it, if you go to the cog, next to your, underneath your profile picture, next to the URL, and you hit the edit button here, so you see a pencil by your public profile URL, click that pencil, and then you can add your name and customize that to your liking. If your name's already taken, maybe for all of you, you can try adding CFA at the end, or maybe your company. But just always make sure that your first and last name are in there. This is one where I would not recommend putting any initials.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Is there any limit on the length of the information you can put in there?
On here, there is a limit, but I haven't run into it, and I've seen some pretty long names. So I'm guessing it's probably at least 30 characters or so.
I'm thinking about just the length on the background profile.
Oh, on the profile. So you mean, is there a limit to anything on your profile so as to pretty much anything you would see when someone goes to your page. There's no limit for pretty much all of these boxes. You can put in as many jobs as you want. You can have as long as a summary as you want. Really, my advice there is just to make it all relevant. The longer profile does not necessarily mean a better profile. Kind of like connections, it's all about being focused and really centering everything around your business. Another suggestion for the profile is to have a summary. You can put it either right below your job or right below your picture. But your summary is, if you imagine your LinkedIn profile like your online resume, I call the summary a cover letter. So this is part of your LinkedIn profile where you can differentiate yourself from your peers. You can talk about what type of client you work with, or if you work with any specific types of strategies, you use a particular investment style. It's a good way to introduce yourself and to explain to prospective clients, even current clients, exactly the value add you bring. So, any questions so far about building a profile? Okay, perfect. So, next is what people ask, well, now that I have my profile set up, who should I connect with? I know I don't connect with everyone, but who should I start with? And the first people you should start with, and they're the easiest connections to make and sometimes the most productive connections to have, your current clients. And I'll show you a few good reasons to why. So now if we pretend my cousin John is one of your clients. You've been working with him for about 5 years or so, so pretty much around the time he started Varsity Software. And you've been mainly focused on helping him save while growing a small business. Once you connect with them on LinkedIn, pretty much all your conversations have been about what's going on and what's current. And you've never had conversations about his previous jobs. So before he founded Reunion Technologies, he worked at LISC Corporation, and he also worked at Time Warner in Electric. And this is a great way, before he comes into a meeting, look up his LinkedIn profile and say, hey John, I know we've been talking a lot about your current business, but I noticed on LinkedIn that you had 2 jobs before this at LISC and Time Warner. Are there any rollover opportunities from those assets from your old retirement accounts? And most of the time, this is an account that John has not seen or thought of for years. And it's just a really easy way, and a very quick way, to bring in new business to your book. But really, the most valuable part about John's profile is if you scroll down, for most LinkedIn users, they're going to have a box that says connections. And so this is now essentially all of John's 500 plus connections. And really, the fastest way to build assets is to gain assets. And you can use John to help build referrals with this list of connections. Now, 500 is way too big of a list to look for, but if you're very specific with LinkedIn, you're going to be able to really navigate John's connections and find the right ones for you and your business. And to do that, at the right side of the connections box, there's a small little search magnifying glass. And this is a very powerful search because you don't have to search for a specific name. You can really search for anything. So for example, John's a business owner in technology. We can just search for owner. And now this is showing 95 people in John's connections that have owners somewhere in their profile. So a lot of them are small business owners, just like my cousin. You could search for, say, you were looking to kind of build a network, be a center of influence, find other centers of influence. You could search for CPA. Now you see, out of these 7 results, these are John's connections, they're also CPAs. Now you can maybe find who are a network of CPAs to interact with. You can search for, of course, CFA. You can even search for specific companies. So I can search for, let's say, search for Google. And now these are 5 connections that either have worked or currently work at Google. And really my favorite part about this is how specific the search can get. So, for example, say you are organizing a foursome at a charity golf tournament, and you want to invent John. He's a big golfer, and normally you'd ask for John, hey, John, having this golf tournament, can you think of 2 other people to join us? And I know my cousin very well. I know the 2 people he will invite are his 16-year-old daughter and his 13-year-old son. And as much fun as that will be on the golf course, it's really not productive if you're looking to build a business environment. So you can go to John's profile and search in this connections box, golf. And now this is 28 people in John's profile who either work for some sort of golfing company or have golf in their interests. So you can go explore these profiles and see, are these good leads? So instead of saying, hey John, can you bring 2 people? Say, hey John, I was thinking about golfing. Do you think you could invite Michael or Brian? And what John's going to say is, you know what, Michael's a great addition. He'd absolutely love playing this course. But Brian, actually, he's a terrible golfer. It'll take us twice as long. It's not fun. But I know you're looking for now. And let me get back to you. I think I have a person in mind. Let me see if they're free. Because what you do is when you ask John for specific names, whether it be someone to golf with or someone to introduce to who's a business owner, and say, hey John, can you introduce me to someone? He's going to say, I think I know a couple people, let me get back to you. He's going to go home, go back to the office, and completely dive into every other thing that he was working on. And he's not trying not to give you referrals, it's just not going to be top of mind. However, if you go to John and say, hey John, really hoping to meet Chris or Ted, John's going to say, you know, that's great, those are great connections to have, let me set up an introduction. Or he'll say maybe they're not the greatest, or they might already be working with someone, but now I'm thinking about 3 people, they're co-workers with Ted, I'll introduce you to them. They're much better connections. So really, having LinkedIn and navigating through it really allows you to take control of the referral process. Go ahead.
What are your thoughts on whether to have your own connections publicly visible or not? I've made them not visible after someone's going to mine my connections in a way that I didn't care for. So,
yeah,
do you have any comments on that?
That's actually a great question, and I get that question a lot. And really, the way to look at it is, especially as financial advisors, a lot of times your connections could be your entire Rolodex. If you're connected with all of your clients, now someone can go in and look at LinkedIn and see everyone who you do business with. And for a lot of people, they don't want to share that. On the flip side of that, connections also show some of your credibility, your industry knowledge. Sometimes you can be connected to a lot of influencers in your business, and a lot of people want to share this because it's really showing their credibility in their field. And so sort of the way I look at it is, if you value your privacy, you can hide your connections, or you can also be very specific with who you connect with. So you don't have to feel obligated to connect with someone if you think they're only going to use you for your information. So a lot of financial advisors, they might not connect with kind of someone they see as a rival advisor, or they might not connect with some third parties that probably only are looking to kind of sell them computer software or something of that nature. So that's one way to do it. And if you have connections and you remove them on LinkedIn, they're not notified. So there's nothing wrong with kind of auditing your connections every 6 months or so and decide if they should still be your connections or not. But if you keep it open, it can also kind of show your credibility. So you just kind of have to decide which one of those that you value more.
Can you show them how to do that, Jeff?
Yeah, absolutely. To remove your connections, if you go up to any of your connections profiles, and you'll see next to send a message, you'll see a little downward facing triangle, and you just hit remove connection there. It's pretty easy, they don't get notified. The only way they'll notice if you remove them is they try to find you and it doesn't say you're connected. So, and most people only remember that you were connected in the first place. So it's pretty non-intrusive, pretty easy to do.
What about hiding your connections if it's your broker business?
Perfect. And to hide your connections, what you do is if you go up to LinkedIn, hit your profile picture and go to Manage Privacy and Settings. I guess that just didn't do what I thought it would. But if you go to Manage Privacy and Settings, it will bring up this page. And what this does is you can manage all your privacy and settings. And I'll run over 2 quick privacy options. The first is if you go under to the Privacy tab, which is the middle tab of the Privacy and Settings, and you go to who can see your connections, and you click that. And now it says your connection or only you. So if you change to only you, that box will disappear from your profile. And if it's your connections, everyone can see it. And when I say everyone, these are just people who are connected with you, your first 3 connections. Anyone who you have not accepted, they will not be able to see your connections at all. So that will always stay hidden. They'll only be able to see mutual connections or second-degree connections. There's also third-degree connections, which require kind of 2 steps of separation. So that's another kind of person on LinkedIn. The other, what I want to show is profile viewing options. And so what this is doing is, when you were like what I was doing and on John's profile and kind of viewing other people's profiles, LinkedIn is going to say, so-and-so viewed your profile. And they're going to show your picture, your job information, and everything of that nature. You can change that where you can have it completely open, which is usually the default. You can have it semi-anonymous, which will say employee at Putnam Investments or someone from the greater Denver area. Or you can have it completely anonymous, which is going to say someone viewed your profile. So the catch with this is, the more private you are, the less information that you get from other people. So I always recommend that if you're not actively prospecting on LinkedIn, have it open. Because this way, you'll know whenever someone visits your profile. So I can tell whenever Scott Kent visits my profile. However, as soon as I put it down to the middle stage, instead of saying Scott Kent visited your profile, it's going to say someone at Putnam visited your profile. And then if I have it completely anonymous, it's going to say an anonymous LinkedIn member visited your profile. However, when you're going on prospecting, and these are people that you hope to meet in face or maybe via email, I usually recommend to put it to anonymous, just so people don't get the impression that you're kind of stalking them. The catch is when you switch from fully open to private, it erases everyone who's visited your profile in the last 5 days. Usually LinkedIn will tell you the last 5 or so people that visited your profile. When you make the switch, that goes away, they all become anonymous. Easy way around that is right before you make the switch, look at who's viewed your profile, and then that's going to be sort of your reference once they all go anonymous. Any questions on those settings so far? Okay. So also as well, so you're using John to as your source of referrals. You also don't necessarily have to go through it. And I'll just show you kind of the best way to connect with someone on LinkedIn while using your first 3 connections. So if we go back to his connections box, if I can find it, seems like it disappeared on me. There we go. And say you wanted to connect with Ann. So your first instance, if you go and visit your first instinct once visiting your profile is going to be hit the big blue connect button. But I really recommend if you're going to do that, do a little bit of research first. First, what you can do is if you look to the right, it shows you how you're connected. So this box right here is going to show all your mutual connections between you and the secondary connection. And so if you hit this button that says get introduced, what that's going to do is instead of sending a message to Kelly, you're going to send a message to John via LinkedIn. It's going to be in LinkedIn's Messenger app. It's going to say, hey John, hope you're doing well. I ran into Kelly on LinkedIn, noticed you were also connected with her, and I'd really love an introduction. I think she has a lot of similarities to your business, and I think there's a lot of great things we can do. And all John would have to do is hit a couple buttons and then introduce you to Kelly via LinkedIn without ever having to email or call or set up anything like that. If you are going to hit the connect button here, say you don't really have a great secondary connection, and you hit connect, don't leave the default LinkedIn message. It's going to say, hi, I would like to add you to my professional network on LinkedIn. And really, that's kind of the worst thing you can do. Because if someone gets that, if they don't know you, they've never heard of you, and they look at this message, it's going to be a flip of the coin whether they hit accept or whether they don't. However, with this, you can write a really short personal message that says, hi, Ann, my name is Chad Hollis. I work very closely with your connection, John Weaver, and I wanted to sit down and introduce myself and just give a real quick explanation of why she should hit yes on the connect button. And just that small difference, adding, call it 3 to 4 sentences, makes a world of a difference when you're hoping that someone accepts the connect. It's going to make future interactions easier, and she's going to know exactly what your value proposition is. So now, once you've connected with a lot of your clients, the next person I like to say is you can connect with your clients' adult children. And this is the reason why I say that. So I'll pull up a stat. When the first spouse passes away, financial advisors keep on average about 45% of the assets. However, when the second spouse passes away and the children inherit this money, average advisor keeps 2% of the assets. And I think the most telling number of this is only 3% of clients said their advisors asked to meet their children. So I understand that, in today's world, families move apart, everyone's in different states doing different things, and everyone's very busy. But only 3% is a number that is far too low, and probably the main driver in this 2% of retaining these assets. And LinkedIn is a great platform where you can meet and introduce yourself to these adult children, as well as introduce how you work with their parents, of course in a compliant way, but it's a good way to have this trust and credibility before crisis mode hits and we're dealing with people who are passing away. And what I would recommend is, if you're connecting with the children, adult children of your clients, first ask them, say, hey, I noticed your son or daughter was on LinkedIn. I was wondering if I could have permission to introduce myself on the network. Most people will say yes, of course, or in the case of my dad, say, what's LinkedIn? And that's usually a yes as well. But what I recommend is LinkedIn has sort of many features of a CRM built in. So if you look to under any of your first 3 connections profile picture, you'll see this relationship box. And you can now create custom notes, reminders, or my personal favorite, tags about these given connections. So if you hit the tag button, that's going to pull up a mini menu, and you can now pick as many tags as you want. So you can tag your doctors, you can tag your prospects, you can tag your clients, or in this case, I tag John as client relative. So now if you go up, if you go to My Network on LinkedIn, so it's this kind of up in the center home, and you hit Connections. Now what that's going to do is bring you to all your connections, but now you can segment things by tag. So if you scroll down a little bit and go to Filter By, where it says All Contacts, if you change it to Tag, and then you change it to the exact tag you're looking for, and the iPad's a little bit buggy, so I don't think it went to the right one. But now this is showing all the specific tags. So this is a great way that if you want to keep in touch with the relatives of your clients, you can open up your client relative tag, and then this allows you to directly message them from the screen, and you can maybe send them a quick message. A lot of times if you have something public that you release on your website, which means it's shareable with non-clients, say, or if you have an article that's published in a something like a local journal or Barron's or anything of that nature, you can say, hey John, hope you're doing well. Just want to share with you some of my investment insights that's been published in Barron's last weekend. And now you're going to build a sense of trust way before it's time to worry about transferring assets. Question?
I noticed you were a premium member. How much of what you're showing us is for premium members only, and how much is for anybody?
So everything I've showed you is free on LinkedIn. And the funny thing is I'm actually a premium trial member. I just decided to try it out because on the premium side, so I can kind of navigate people through it. However, the majority of the time, I'm always a free LinkedIn member. Some of the differences you get with premium is for premium, you can see a longer history of people who viewed your profile. But if you use LinkedIn once a week or every couple days, you'll never miss someone. Another benefit is LinkedIn. What I'll show you soon is the advanced search. There's a cap to the number of searches you can run. However, I've done this presentation multiple times per month, sometimes multiple times per week, and never hit that search cap. With LinkedIn, it's easier to get in contact with third-degree connections and people you have no connection with. However, kind of navigating LinkedIn through your own contacts, linking through secondary connections, you don't have to worry about that. And you have a little bit more advanced search features. There are different scales of premium, but if you're jumping into LinkedIn, I always recommend starting with free. And if you're running into any what they call paywalls, where they say you can no longer use this feature, then consider trying a trial. See if you use that trial, if it's beneficial. If not, kind of go back down to free and navigate around the walls. Or if you find it really beneficial, upgrade to premium. However, if you're not using LinkedIn at least 4 to 5 times a week, usually you won't need premium on LinkedIn. Any other questions about that? Okay, perfect. So that's actually a perfect segue to what I'll show is the advanced search. And to get to the advanced search in the top bar next to your search bar, you'll see white letters that say advanced. And so I always recommend hitting advanced search instead of just doing a simple search if you don't know exactly what you're looking for. And now what the advanced search allows you to do, it allows you to segment LinkedIn in exactly the way you want it to. You can search by keyword, name, title, or really what's most important is you can search by location. So just as an example, I will show you a location search. Scott, what's your zip code?
80238.
Perfect. 80238. So we're going to search for the Denver area. And we'll search for 50 miles. We'll start wide here. And I always recommend starting with 50 miles and narrowing it down if you need to. So now there are 1 million LinkedIn users 50 miles away from Denver. So naturally this is definitely not going to help any prospecting. But with the advanced search, the more specific you get, the more powerful it is. So first of all, I'm going to change the relationship to just secondary connections. So this means there's only one step in between us. So these are easier introductions. Now it's 10,000. Still really don't have, that's too many people to look for. So for example, Charles Schwab. They're moving here to Colorado, which means more and more people, senior people, are going to move here every few months or so, maybe every week. You never know. So for this example, imagine you're an advisor. You've gotten in with a good Charles Schwab client, and they're introducing you to a lot of the other senior level. And really what you've been doing has been kind of relying on them to take action, take referrals, and now you know exactly what you're looking for. You're looking for senior level people, Charles Schwab, in the Denver area. This is kind of your wheelhouse, and these are great prospects to go after. So for company, we're going to do Schwab. And we'll do current, just so it doesn't find us any retirees or people who used to work at Schwab's. And now we'll hit search again. And so now our 9,000 just went down to 100. And now this is a much tighter prospecting list. So we'll take this a step further. And in title, we'll go president. So now, this is 28 people that are in the Denver area that have at least the title of vice president or president that are Charles Schwab, and their secondary connections means there's someone in your current network that can form an introduction. And so, as the Schwab offices grow and build, more and more people are going to move here, more presidents are going to move here, and the best part about this LinkedIn search is you can save this search, and LinkedIn is going to notify you every time the search changes. So to save the search, in the top right of the advanced search, go to Save Search. And now that's going to bring up a window dialog where you can save, for the free version of LinkedIn, up to 3 searches. And we can type in a name, we just probably call it Schwab in Denver. And you can choose to be alerted weekly or monthly. So what that's going to do if you choose weekly is every week, every time either someone gets promoted to vice president or president, or someone moves into the Denver area and becomes, and they are president at Schwab, you will get an email. So this is pretty much a prospecting email delivered to you at the beginning of the week for people to follow up with. And it's a really powerful tool. I had an advisor who worked actually right outside of a large IBM plant. It was a really large plant, and what he did was he handled a lot of their rollovers when retirees had. So what we did is, what he would traditionally do was he was very active, doing networking events, all types of speakers, seminars, and of course a lot of calling, and relying on his current contacts. But he was kind of going in blind trying to look for these guys. And what he ended up doing was create a search 25 miles from his home off, from the IBM office address. He did it a weekly update, and for people who were past but not current, so people who are no longer working at IBM. And it's a very large plant, so he was getting 10 to 15 usually a month. And he was still doing all of his activity, but now he had a list of people to connect with and to invite, instead of kind of relying on his referral network. So he really increases productivity without having to increase his activity by just simply looking at the saved search in his email every week. So really powerful tool. Any questions on the advanced search?
I was actually just curious your thoughts on third degree connections.
Sure.
And it seems frankly like a bridge too far.
Yep.
So I don't know if you feel that way, or, you know, a two-step process where you connect with that second degree and then sometime later try and reach that
Sure.
third degree.
Sure. Kind of the two recommendations I have on that is, first, I don't normally pursue third degree connections unless the second degree connection, I have a very, very solid person who I know can make that connection very easily and who wouldn't make sort of the transition awkward as all. So for my secondary connections, I don't use people that I generally interact with, maybe once or met them once at a conference. I use people I work with, people I went to school with, people who are my close friends and colleagues, people I know won't mind and can give me real insight on the right secondary connection. And then for that bridge, I also suggest there being a reason to connect with that secondary connection as well. For example, I most likely probably want to connect with a doctor in Portland, Oregon. Just don't know them, doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make sense for that secondary connection as well. So that's not really a third degree connection I would pursue. But if it's someone who's maybe in my industry or local in my area, or maybe there's someone who went to my school, there's a much more natural bridge, and kind of navigating that second connection is going to be easier. And lastly, the third degree connection must be someone who's really kind of someone who you know is a value add to you and your business. If there's someone who you think, it's probably not worth the effort, because it takes probably 3 to 4 times more time and effort to connect with a third degree connection than it does to connect with a second degree.
Yeah, Chad, to that point, is there like a filter criteria in the advanced search where you can filter by second degree connections?
Yes, yeah, I'll show you that real quick. I'll close this. So here, if you search right below where it says relationship, here you can choose to search just first degree connections, which if you're trying to catch up with someone, second degree, or group members, which is also powerful. I highly recommend joining LinkedIn groups, because group members are A, easier to connect with. You don't need a secondary connection to connect with them. And B, groups are a great way to know what's going on in your area. Join industry type groups, you can join local groups, school groups, charity groups, or any sort of interest that you're in as well. And that's going to grow your network. And having more groups kind of reduces your number of third degree connections, because they're easier to connect with. Then there's everyone else, which is kind of going out into the wild. Any other questions on the advanced search? Okay, perfect. So last thing I'll show you before I send it back to Scott is the LinkedIn Alumni tool. And really what this is every college in LinkedIn is indexed, and the site does a fantastic job of really having connections and information about any school you want to do. So to access the the LinkedIn universities, you can either go to linkedin.com/universities, which will show you every college, or you can search for that college as well. So I'll just search for, I've already been open just to make it easy, but for my alma mater, Dartmouth College. And what LinkedIn does is first it shows you a lot of college demographics, which is great to know if clients are asking, my kid's about to go to college, what do I do? They don't even have any idea what they want to do. You can ask them, well, what do you think they want to do? They think they want to be in business, a doctor, and what LinkedIn does is it ranks every school. And this isn't ranking through some arbitrary method or voting. LinkedIn is actually counting the number of alumni for that school and ranking them based on what profession they end up in. So I mean, granted, of course sometimes people lie, but when there's millions of people on LinkedIn, The amount of people using the network the right way trumps the amount of people abusing it. So it's really easy to kind of point them in that direction. But really what I love about LinkedIn is if you go to any college, you can even click your own college from the profile page. Go to students and alumni. And now what this is going to do is it's going to segment the college population of any college on LinkedIn, so you don't have to have any affiliation with it, about where they are, where they live, where they work, what they do, even it goes as what they're skilled at and how your connection. So this is a really great way if you want to build your alumni, a fellow alumni base connecting. Because for example, you can search for attended, so we'll say attended from say 1990 to 95. And then we won't include people with no dates. And now everyone here has just been re-segmented to 1990 to 95. This is a great way to, A, connect with old peers. One time I pulled someone's college up and they found their old roommate by the first person when I searched by year. It's a great way to find professional connections that you might have overlapped with. So maybe not necessarily someone you knew while on campus, but someone who you definitely shared a similar experience. So for example, I can go to where they work, and I'll just pick IBM. And now this is showing everyone from who attended, so pretty much graduated any time between, call it 87 and 98, who works at IBM. You can change to your local area or maybe a different town you're trying to build a foothold in. You can see exactly what they do. You can find people who are actually secondary connections instead of third or everyone else. I've seen people use this for reunions. If you live close to a college, if you live close to your college, you know there's a reunion coming in town, search for the graduation year, and then find if there's a good connection there that you might be able to meet up with during an open window. You can search if you're an active alumni. A lot of people can use this if they want to invite people to any college events, whether the college is doing a reception in the area or there's perhaps a big sports game, football, hockey, anything. It's a good way to reach out to your college peers that way. And finally, the last piece of advice is if you're ever looking for maybe even an intern or some entry-level employee and you're targeting a specific college, if you change this attended to call it 2016 to 2019, and you look at exactly what they study, so say you're looking for either an engineering or a business or a government major, and then you can maybe find a secondary connection so you can maybe at least vet them through someone. But I promise to you, if you reach out to a college student saying we're looking for potential interns, would this be an opportunity to be interested in interviewing for, you will make that kid's day. College students are usually especially active on LinkedIn. It's a great way to sort of see what they've done, see if that's the right type of candidate, and as well as if you're even accepting applicants you get candidates from, you can verify their resumes on LinkedIn as well. So that, any more questions? All right, cool. So I will turn it back to Scott to close things up.
Thanks, Chad. Nice job. So Chad highlighted LinkedIn mostly because that's what we find financial professionals are utilizing. But this is kind of a lighthearted photo that I use on my presentations to give us an idea of what are some of the other social media venues and how they work. Wonderful. I broke it. Well, I'll read it to you. It's a picture of all the social media. It's called Social Media Explained. Twitter, I'm eating a donut. Facebook, I like donuts. Instagram, here's a vintage photo of a donut. YouTube, here I am eating a donut. LinkedIn, my skills include eating donuts. Pinterest, here's a donut recipe. And then Google Plus, I'm a Google employee who eats donuts. So it's kind of a lighthearted explanation, but I will try to close it out. Hopefully it works with 3 specific prospecting ideas. And Chad didn't mention this, but I will leave this in front of you. This is a LinkedIn playbook that we have. It kind of highlights almost everything that Chad talked about, how to build your profile, some things to avoid, some certain search techniques that is all right here. It's online as well. But I'm going to show you 3 specific things. I'm going to show you 3 ideas that can be used for prospecting ideas. Hopefully this works. Here we go. This is a proprietary website at Putnam. It's called advisortechtips.com, one word. The study that Chad highlighted is right there, and you can click on it to find more details that we explain. But it also has fun little apps that will help our daily lives improve. One that I use all the time is Waze, W-A-Z. It's a social media kind of traffic app, which is really great. It helps you get out of trouble when you're running late sometimes. But that is a proprietary website, and it's really, really great. The 3 prospecting ideas, the actionable ideas that I want to share with you, one of them is called the WARN Act. It stands for the Worker Readjustment and Retraining Notification Act. Most states have a specific website, as does Colorado. And you can see right here, it's a law that requires major employers to notify the public if there's going to be a mass layoff situation 60 days ahead of time. So what I've done is I've taken the opportunity to look at the Colorado, and here's a list of company names that are going to be experiencing layoffs. So what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to highlight some of these names. I'm going to go back to my LinkedIn search where Chad just highlighted and see if I know any of these people. See if I know any of these people who know some of the people that I may know, and reach out to them and possibly offer some ideas in transition. The second idea is, Chad mentioned it very quickly, but people who are retiring. If I go to University of Colorado Boulder and I type in 1976 to 1980, these are people that are more than likely approaching 60 to 65 years of age right now and are looking to more than likely think about retirement. So I can look at how I'm connected to these people and possibly reach out and offer some retirement solutions. The last is an IPO monitor. It's IPOmonitor.com, and it lets you know state by state when there's going to be IPOs pending. I highlighted SciTom X right here, which is in South San Francisco, Colorado. The amount's going to be $122.7 million IPO. If I go back to search for that, and I already did this, but it's exactly what Chad just walked through. I put in a keyword of SciTom X. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly. But I know some of these people, so some of these people are going to be coming into a great deal of wealth, hopefully. The last thing I'll show you is another proprietary kind of app / website that we have, and it's called our Fund Visualizer. This is a tool. I was just in a meeting about an hour ago, and I have this up. That lets you build portfolios. It lets you run it against ETFs, indices, competitor funds, about 10,000 competitor funds. And the great thing is it has all the compliance language built into it. So if I want to hit PDF Creator on the top, I can send this specific idea, which is Putnam Low Volatility Equity. I was showing the down draw in the middle of January compared to the S&P, 5.36 to about 12, if you look at the S&P 500. To a client, I just hit PDF Creator. But it also has ways for me to show overlap, ways for me to show top 10 names, and correlation, things like that. So that's it. I think we're on time. And as you can see, this is a complicated, kind of fun topic. And I don't work for LinkedIn, and neither does Chad. But this is the area where I started at the beginning, is we're trying to add value. So if there's any value that we added, we'd love the opportunity to kind of further the conversation. So thanks again, everyone. Have a great day.
So we're going to head in. We've got lunch in the next room. We've got Cal Geyer, who's going to be presenting. So if anyone needs to use the restroom, they're down the hall on the right for men, left for women. But I'd like to get going with lunch and Cal's presentation in the next couple minutes.